44, episode 44, Badass Records podcast. Yeah, you recognize it right away.
I know that's
yeah,
I have
yeah.
that signature tattooed on me.
Nice. I've had, 3, 4, possibly 5 Jasons, a couple Joshes. I've had a couple family members. I've had one husband and wife. But this is the first father-son duo to join me. So we're doing episode 44, Badass Records podcast. Sammy, as your dad says, Sanchez. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
What's your weekend been looking like so far?
Pretty chill weekend. I just got a new job bartending King G down at the Crossroads.
Okay.
So yesterday was my first shift there. Got to know the crew. Got to check the place out. Really cool. Excited about that.
Was it a lunch shift?
It was a dinner
okay.
shift. It was.
And then Saturday night off?
It was just a training. Essentially,
okay.
Just come and get to know the place. They're actually, the owner's opening up a new bar in a few weeks right next door. And I'll be working there once it opens.
Okay.
So I'm just like getting to know the staff and stuff because
sure.
they'll be mostly the same staff between the two. So.
And is this your full-time gig?
It's gonna be. Yeah.
Okay. What were you doing before?
Recently, I was in, but until for the past several years, I was in education. I was a high school paraprofessional.
Okay.
And then I got out of that because education's kind of in a rough place right now. And
and is there a bigger thankless job than a para?
In general, no, not really. It's a rough time. You know, if it was just teaching and working with the kids, I'd still be there. It was great, but with everything else going on,
right?
It's chaos. So there.
So your father was not successful in encouraging you to stay far, far away from this industry?
Both my parents growing up, probably, I grew up around restaurants. They've owned several restaurants, and they were always like, you can work around, help us out, but not sure this is something you want to get into, because I saw them go through, all the financial troubles,
sure.
all the hardship that goes into the hospitality industry. And, growing up, I was like, yeah, I'll work in hospitality, but it's not something I'll probably end up in. But I've worked in bartending gigs and serving gigs and even management here and there, and I love the hospitality industry.
If you can have some discipline and not let your life become absorbed by the hours and the culture and still just be a human.
Which can be hard to do sometimes. But
maybe more often than not. But if you can walk that line, there's money to be made, and
meet cool people.
Yes. In a bartending or any front of the house role, more or less, you got to be smart with your money. Because all of you get a pile of it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this isn't for me to just go have a good time with. Like,
it's not like a deposit every 2 weeks.
Yes, exactly.
What's this $200 in my pocket? All of a sudden?
I better hang on to like 180 of that or something. What's the name of the new place?
The new place is Jim's
Deli
Bar.
Okay.
Opening up right next door to King G Bar and Deli.
Okay. And Crossroads,
it's 18th and Locust. I'm
that
pretty sure.
Place still kind of has a pulse, right? Like it's still
Mission Tacos right there. There's a few breweries in the area that are really cool. Crossroads is always a really cool area to hang out in.
And besides like a First Friday kind of thing, like why else is that area a destination spot for folks?
There's just a lot going on. It's not in the heart of downtown, so it's not quite as congested as like down by Kaufman or something, for example. But it's still close enough that if you need to go to the Sprint Center like right after a show lets out.
Cool.
Sorry, T-Mobile.
Right.
Now.
Yeah.
But if a show lets out there, people can it's 2 blocks if that to get down to Crossroads, and you have a dozen different bars. Like I said, a bunch of cool breweries.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool open area. A lot of art, a lot of bustling activity.
Yeah. So what kind of hours are you going to be putting in this place?
Mostly closing shifts, I'm assuming.
Like a couple or 3 a week, or okay, all right. And then in your non-working hours, what are you been doing with yourself?
I tutor on the side.
Okay.
Do a lot of tutoring. Just hang out with my girlfriend.
Sure.
Listen to music, play video games.
Not what are some of your go-to?
Ever since Elden Ring came out earlier this year, it's pretty much all I've been
Elden
playing.
Ring?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's for PlayStation or Xbox or whatever you want to play. It's like, I don't know if you ever played Dark Souls or any of those kind of games, but it's like just a fantasy adventure game.
Cool.
But it's a lot of, you die a million times. Like the very first enemy you encounter just bops you once and you die. So it's a
Are you connected?
It's on PS4 is what I play on.
But are you online with other people? Or
you can play online, yeah. People can leave notes around the map
funny.
and be like, hey, go this way.
Okay.
But you don't know if they're lying. You go that way and there's a monster. It'll just destroy you
Nice.
instantly. So it's a fun time. Yeah,
and girlfriend for like 3?
a little over 3 years
Okay.
now, yeah.
And she's you guys are way past the parent test, like she right?
Yeah. My parents love her probably more than they love me.
Okay,
So,
and she did you guys go to the Dominican? All of you?
We went last year. My parents, Becca, my girlfriend, and I went to the DR. My sister was supposed to go, but because of COVID, she was a little iffy, so she stayed back. But the 4 of us went. It was fantastic.
How many times have you been?
So I was born there, lived there till I was 4, a little after 4. And then when we first moved to the States, it was to Florida. So every summer we could, just fly back.
Right.
And then my grandma passed when I was 8 or 9. I'm going to say 9. And then right after that, we moved to Kansas City.
Okay.
So I think after that, we only went back once, like maybe the year after. And then it had been over a decade since I'd been back. So,
for this most recent trip?
So this last trip had been...
Were you stoked?
Had been a very long time. I was very excited.
And did you guys go to one spot, or did you move around a bit?
So I was born in the capital, and growing up in the DR, I mostly stayed in the capital. We would visit, a few other towns, but my knowledge of the country was fairly limited. So my parents decided to just give us like a countrywide road trip
on this past
year.
Okay.
So we visited, we landed in the capital, stayed there for like a day or two, and then just rented a car and went like all the way around the country, pretty much up to the North Coast, went down the side, back around.
Wow.
It was great. It's a fairly small country.
Sure.
But still took us like almost 2 weeks, but it was a great time.
And that's a chunk of time in a vehicle with other people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can be.
Then we would stay at Airbnbs or little inns wherever we could find. We stayed. My grandparents at the time lived in a town called Samana, so whenever we were there, we stayed with them.
Okay.
We stayed at a resort for almost a week. Just at the end of the road trip, we made it through all this. Let's just relax the last few days, and
that's what I'm talking about. I mean,
nice.
I want to see the stuff and learn things too, but
then
kicking it is
and it was not all inclusive, but mostly inclusive. So just swim up to the bar, get me a daiquiri. Here you go on the house.
Mean,
it was.
I think so. We I don't know if we dipped below 30 today, but it got chilly for official.
Probably the first time, yeah.
Yeah, coats and hats and stuff, and it's like you say swim at bar. I'm like, whoa, that sounds suddenly very appealing.
Oh yeah, it was real nice.
So born. I mean, what if you? I mean, a one-line summer. Like, what's the feel of being there? I mean, is everything relatively chill and enjoyable?
It's very. I'll say if you're in the capital, it's very busy.
Okay.
Like the capital is just a world capital. It's a lot of people moving around. It's a very busy area. Unfortunately, a lot of crime, a lot of poverty.
Okay.
That's just how it is. But once you get out to the countryside, the more rural areas, it's gorgeous. Everyone's super friendly. Everyone's more than willing to help you out.
Nice.
It's just everything's cheap. The food is really cheap. Everything's not
Beans
much
and
is
rice.
imported food wise. So all the food is super cheap. Everything's
cool.
Amazing. Yep.
So your dad and I talked a bunch about Costa Rica before.
Mm-hmm.
Over like a year or something like that, and then they went and we had gone in, 17 or 8. I can't remember, but we went. So we honeymooned there. We went to Quepos and stayed there, and then a few years ago we went to Tamarindo, which is where I think your
That's
folks.
where we went. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you were on that trip too.
So I think they went by themselves again like a year ago, or
Okay.
maybe even earlier this year. But about 3 or actually it was more like 4 or 5 years ago, we went. My parents, my sister, and I went to
Okay.
Tamarindo.
Nice.
We stayed in the little villa right by the beach.
Yep.
We were there for like a week or so. So before then, I'd only ever been to the Dominican Republic in the U.S. So that was the first time visiting another country.
Right.
It was, I mean, knowing Spanish helped a lot.
Yeah.
So
there's
so that was nice.
a lot of English speaking.
But there was
there.
a lot of it
But
was very easy to get around.
this trip to Tamarindo, I mean, like, just really fantastic being there, and nothing too noteworthy coming or going. But for the trip to Quepos, we flew into San Jose, and then everybody, pilot included, walked out, to this kind of like dirt road and got in the plane from the back.
Right.
And the pilot's last on, and I mean they kind of like brush up against you when they're walking to the, and then my knees were up against the back of the
To your
pilot's
chest,
seat.
pretty much.
I mean, like touching the back of the pilot, like right there.
Right.
And this little plane just, and I was just like, holy shit! I didn't know that was how this was going to work. But and there was another honeymooning couple behind us, and she immediately was. She may have even been slightly teary-eyed before they started the engines, but it's and then 45-minute just kind of flight, and the whole time she was just beside herself, which I felt for her because I'm typically terrified as well. But anyway, we, I guess maybe. I can't remember if it was coming or going, but we were in San Jose for a good minute and took a taxi. And as soon as we like approached, like leaving a hotel parking lot or whatever, approaching traffic, I was like, oh my God, this looks crazy, and we're going to go right into it.
Yep.
And then we got into it, and I was like, so the smaller the thing that you're in or on,
Easier to maneuver.
the less right away you have. So like
That's true.
A
Also,
person on a bike or a pedestrian,
they're
like
not going to let you through, so you kind of just have to force your
also
way
they're not going
wherever
to
you can.
they'll hit you if you're just
Yep.
in the way or come dang close. So that was for me, that was way worse than the little plane ride. Just oh God.
Yep.
But so your sister's younger or older?
She's 4 years younger than me.
4 years younger. So she was born here then.
She was born in the DR.
Okay.
She was only 3 weeks old.
That's
when we
right. That's
moved to
right.
the
That's
States,
right.
yeah.
Okay. And how long has she been in Chicago?
She moved there, I want to say last year. Maybe, I think it was last year.
Okay.
So about a year, maybe a little over a year now.
Cool.
Maybe 2 years now.
I should know the answer to this question, seeing as how your dad was here for episode 30. But tell me, if you would, your memories of their music playing or not music playing in the house growing up.
So a lot of Spanish music.
Okay.
Obviously, a lot of merengue, bachata.
Yes, yeah.
All that good stuff. But also, my mom was obsessed with George Michael.
Really?
And, Duran Duran. Those
Okay.
were her big heart throbs.
Sure.
Were George Michael and Simon Le Bon from Duran Duran.
Yeah.
So listened to a lot of new wave stuff growing up, a lot of Tears for Fears, a lot of that sort
Okay.
of stuff. And my dad was really into the Police,
Yep.
Queen, more like the heavier
Okay.
Aerosmith, that kind of
Sure.
stuff. So a lot of that
Okay.
as well. And it was really funny because growing up, we also had relatives that would come stay with us. Since we were, we moved to Kansas City first. So if there was, for example, my uncle trying to move to the U.S. from Puerto Rico, he would come stay with us for a few months till he got
That
his
sounds
footing.
kind of fun.
And then he would, we still obviously talk to him.
Right,
But, he lived
right,
with us for
yeah.
a few years. And then a few years later, another uncle would live with us. And so I got a lot of experience from them. My uncle Luigi, who lived with us, he got me into like Metallica.
Oh, wow.
And Corn.
Okay.
that kind of like the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
My uncle Louie got me into like Tool and
Oh, wow.
9 Inch Nails. And so just a very diverse assortment of music growing up.
Both dad's brothers? Or?
So my uncle Louis, I call him my uncle. He's like a third or fourth cousin.
Okay.
I think he's like my grandma's nephew, some relation, but
Sure.
he's like my mom's cousin somewhere there. Grew up together, so he lived with us for a while. And then my uncle Louis, who lived with us later, is my mom's brother.
Okay.
So all on their side.
Very
my
nice.
mom's side.
So I've got this like streak, intentional streak of 3 dogs. I've had a dog die, like 12 years ago, but he was around for 14 years. And then the 2 upstairs, they're all named after pianists.
Okay.
And so when we were gonna get this puppy, I explained to the kids that is the way that it's gonna go, and they were not thrilled at all. But I did give them a list of like 28, 30, somewhere in there, last names of pianists, and they ended up choosing Ellington because I was like, you could call her Ellie, and they're like,
Easy,
sold.
done.
But one of them was Lamar with 2 R's, and I hope I get this right. I think it's the Delvin Lamar Trio, and I think that it's a jazz band, and I think he's on the keys. And I think it's their most recent record has a cover of Careless Whisper.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like I feel foolish saying this, but I can't off the top of my head remember if it's the keys or the guitar that do that
sax lick,
you know,
the most famous sax lick ever.
Exactly. But it's so good. I mean, the whole record's good, but it's like a little
Stand out,
yeah. So I mean, that guy, kind of underrated in the sense of like, you know, a Madonna or a Michael Jackson or somebody big. Like he was huge. I mean, of course, Wham was very huge for a second, but then the stuff he did for the little bit of time he was cranking.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, like all of George Michael.
Yeah,
that was all him.
So yeah, you've got their stuff, and then some influences from other relatives, and then eventually, do you like begin a collection of your own, or?
So roughly, like it wasn't until about college where I started, you know, like paying attention to music. Up until then, it was, you know, someone would recommend me an artist, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, I like this, and I would like, okay, I like these songs, I don't like these songs, but I wouldn't really put a ton of thought into why that was. But I just knew, like, all right, music is cool.
Yes.
But it wasn't until about college. It was actually, Pink Floyd was the band.
Okay.
And I grew up listening to some Pink Floyd,
Sure.
The big albums, big songs. But in college, I started, I had some friends that were really into Pink Floyd, and all together we started listening. And
so you came to KC at what age?
I was 10.
Okay.
Almost 10.
And up north?
Yeah.
Okay. And then college was?
At Mizzou.
Okay. How'd
Columbia.
you engineer, or what was the?
It was mathematics.
Mathematics.
Therefore,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Fun times.
Were you there for 4 years?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you loved it?
I love Columbia. Columbia is a great town. I love my friends. Mizzou as a school, not my fondest memories.
Really?
It's very much, I'll say mathematics wasn't their biggest priority. So the math department was just kind of...
I mean, it's like kind of historically a journalism school, right?
School, and then more recently, sports, obviously.
Yeah,
it's a
of
very
course.
big party school, very big. I worked at, if anyone's ever been to Columbia, it's called El Rancho.
Okay.
It's the popping restaurant that's open, like right at the heart of downtown, a little Mexican restaurant, right across from all the big bars, open till 3 a.m., So it was where all the drunk people would go.
Sure.
So I would see people, the line would go out the door and down the corner.
Dang.
And it was every single night. And so I would get to see a lot of people, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But then I would see them the next day, on campus, and they'd be like, I know you from somewhere. Where do I recognize you from? I was
It's
like,
called
oh,
Last
yes,
Night.
you were blacked out
Yeah.
ordering some grilled chicken nachos at LH. That's what's up.
Did you live multiple places while you were down there?
I did. Thankfully, I had never lived on campus.
Okay.
I won't say thankfully. I'm sure living on campus was fine. But from when I got to Mizzou, I lived off campus with some friends. Friends I actually met at Mizzou. I lived with several friends throughout the years for 4 years, and then came back to
Sure.
Kansas City. Yep.
So I'm on the. I mean, fascinating to me that you said that love Columbia, not so super fond of Mizzou. I'm on the. I'm kind of freshly out of like a on and offish 3-year relationship with a gal from St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
So across that span has been, occasionally visits there, sometimes me solo, sometimes with the kids, and she came up a bunch, and sometimes with her daughter. But probably our most frequent deal was Saturday night in Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Not once a month, maybe every once in a while too. But yeah, and we stayed all over the place, and the feeling was always the same. And to me, it feels like a super weird town, and not
really
not
does.
because of the way that it's set up or the businesses that are there, but there's just an odd collection of people.
The culture clash between like the old heads that like that live there, like
Yeah.
the townies, versus
Yeah.
just the huge influx of partying college
Yeah.
students. Like, it creates a weird dynamic.
But I mean, so we've stayed in a bunch of hotels. We've interacted with lots of staff, and so this is obviously an adult that is working a full-time job, and they live here, and blah blah blah, and just a lot of weirdness there. And then sometimes we'd go out to eat, and sometimes we'd just order something.
Right.
But anytime we went downtown was also really weird, and like. I remember sitting at a two-top, a window table for brunch, and then all of a sudden this like impromptu like farmers market just cropped up, and it was all
right.
everybody that was a part of it was really weird looking and shady and like malnourished, and then it vanished, and then had some weird like outdoor dining, weird people just kind of like approach and be in our space, and it's like and then more than once being out downtown, and there was like this little pocket of people where they would just be like 3, 4, 5, 6 people just totally out on heroin. I'm telling, just
zonked.
like, and I didn't know what was happening, but she was like, she got some familiarity with that whole situation, and I was like, oh really, is that, and then it's like, that's crazy that there's a part of, I want to say North Philly. There's like there's a TikTok account that they're making a document, but it's just block after block after block of people that are just completely, sometimes they're just like bent over, like standing, and completely doubled over, like out of it. A lot of people passed out on the street, of course, just trash and stuff everywhere, and a lot of just this idea of these are my belongings. This is what I have, but if I nod off, like, it's free game. Like, people will root through, take your shoe. I mean, so in a sort of an offshoot of a large city, like, it's easy to imagine, but Columbia's, I mean, it's a big town, but it's also, the heart of it is a small little. So for that to go on and people just be like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's
the parking garages, all the little side alleys.
Yeah. But so you hammered out your 4 years and came back to KC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then right into hospitality. I started working at the Westin
Okay.
Hotel downtown. I was there for a few years, and then just been hospitality and then education and back to hospitality.
Nice. Well, I think I told you when you sent me your list, I was not only really excited, but I felt almost like almost a tear came into my eye. So 1976, Tom Waits, Small Change. The vinyl on the desk behind you is a brand new acquisition for me. The cassettes are ones that I acquired in college and beyond, and it's like I had a pocket where I dug in and was like, I'm getting it, and then for whatever reason I redirected or went somewhere else, and I really don't. Well, I don't have a cassette player set up anywhere right at the moment, but I really haven't ever dug back in. But I was really, really excited to see his name because he has always been so fascinating.
Agreed.
And curious, and there's the element of me that's like I would like to live my life the way that he. I just do what I want, and that turns out I've got a little success along the way too. So, somebody really wanted me to get into Frank's Wild Years, and I don't know if I gave it a qualified listen. To me, three listens through a record gives you validity in saying, like you can say some. And I think I personally wanted to be into Swordfish Trombones, but it never could really click. But Rain Dogs and Heart of Saturday Night and Small Change were three that, for whatever reason, it just worked. And I forgot how many songs on Small Change that I really love. Yep. And I really just felt myself like I'd done a disservice to myself. Like it's like I got to get back in there.
I've been missing out.
I mean, because there's a lot more than that.
Oh yeah, he's a prolific artist.
In fact, he's got 8. This is his 4th of 18 records. So I mean, lot of work to be done. But where did you cross paths with him and his stuff?
It was actually really funny. Before I ever listened to his music, he acts occasionally. He appears in
right
small roles here and there. He had a small role in a movie called Seven Psychopaths.
Okay.
It came out a little over 10 years ago, I think. Colin Farrell, Sam Rockwell.
Oh, really?
Harrelson. Really great movie. Love that movie.
Sorry, what is it again?
It's called Seven Psychopaths.
Okay.
Really interesting. Christopher Walken's. Great movie. But Tom Waits plays a small role in it, and he just plays, super eccentric, weird guy that came to find out later that's just Tom Waits. He was pretty much playing himself.
I think it's probably not the only time that he has appeared as himself
exactly
in a thing.
And I was just like, who the hell is this guy? And I looked him up, and I think the first song I heard might have been like The Piano Has Been Drinking. God. Or Step Right Up, one of those like really quirky songs that you're just like, what the hell am I listening to right now? But at the same time, you're like, I can't stop listening.
Yes.
This is amazing. And then from there, just have been absolutely in love with him. Would say he's
for 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Easily one of my. I'd say he's probably, as far as just a pure songwriter, probably my favorite.
I mean, so do you? I've never had somebody to like be, a co-fan with. Like, I mean, do you have people in your life that are like big Tom Waits fans?
My girlfriend, by proxy,
right?
Just because of how much she's listened to with me playing him, and I send like a friend here and there. I'll be like, hey, check out this song, and more often than not, it's, why does he sound like he's got gravel in his throat or something like that? But
it's called Whiskey and Cigarettes.
Exactly. It's not a very typical sound.
No.
That people, you just throw on the radio and that's Tom Waits.
Yeah.
It's very much just an accustomed sound you have to get used to.
Well, so the thing that's always been, I think, so appealing to me is that I dig his sound, his approach, everything. But the fact that somebody, an executive at a record label, was like, "We'll pony up for you to go record that,"
Right.
and then people bought it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like kind of like refreshing. Like, there is reason to have faith in the music audience of the world.
And it's a testament to his songwriting that, he can make these weird, like that voice and these weird lyrics and these weird sounds come together, and people are like, okay, yeah, I get it. I can dig it, Tom Waits.
Yeah. And so in thinking a lot about him the last week or so, I've never really had an answer to the, if you could have a day with a celebrity, alive or dead, who would it be?
He's really
He's in my top three without question.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be, I feel like you would, in the Matrix when they upload a program. Now I can fly a helicopter. I feel like a day with him, I would walk away from that being like, I just gained like 15 years of
easy
street American culture and experience. And it's just, anyway. At least 3, 4, 5 tracks. I mean, the whole record's good, but that I really love. And it was just surprise after surprise, because I think I had suspected that there was like 2 here on this record and 2 here on this record.
But to find them all together.
Yes. I was like, God, this is a fantastic album. Have you ever read any Bukowski?
I have not, a ton.
Sure.
I've always been really interested in the beatniks and all that.
Same.
And he's very much like a musical beatnik.
Yes.
Essentially, he wrote about all the same type of that seedy underground kind of people, hanging out late at night, doing drugs, doing God knows what, but still in just like a really romantic almost way.
Yes.
Like not glorifying it, but not denouncing it either. It's
right.
like, hey, they're just doing their thing. Don't worry about it. You do you, they do them. It is what it is.
One of the lines I read said it's like lyrics like Bukowski and vocals like Louis Armstrong. And I was like,
really
that's a perfect little marriage. And also 2 people that I'm very interested in.
Icons,
and I mean, who calls their band the Nocturnal Emissions? I mean, it's that guy.
That
I think
fella
that's
right there,
that's about it. And also for this, I'm not so sure how many producers he's used over the years, but for this one it was Bones Howe, and I was like, if you have a dude named Bones Howe producing your record,
exactly how it's gonna sound.
For some reason, one passage there's so many great lyrics on this record.
Every single song.
But the one that stuck out, and it's just random, is from The One That Got Away, and it's he's got a snakeskin sports shirt, and he looks like Vincent Price with a little piece of chicken, and he's carving off a slice. What are you talking about?
You paint such a vivid picture over such like the tiny little mundane details.
Yeah, and I can't hear the words Vincent and Price together without kind of hearing a little bit of the Thriller, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, take me back to 1983 and a piece of chicken. Okay, man. Another line was the cast of characters that appear, I suppose lyrically in this record are hookers, strippers, and small-time losers that are all night owls and drunks, people lost in a cold urban world. And I was like, bingo.
To a T.
Yeah.
He nails every single one of his lyrical
So how many of the other 17, I guess, do you...
I'm pretty sure I've at some point listened to all of them.
Really?
There's obviously some I listen to more than
others. Yes, of course.
This one, Small Change, is definitely my favorite, I'd say. But Meal Variations, Rain Dogs, I'd say those are like the big 3 for me.
Meal
Variations, yeah. It was one of his 90s albums.
Did I see... When was his last one put out? Do you remember?
I think it was Big Like Me, and that was, if not like very early 2010s or late.
I was going to say 09 somewhere.
It's been a while. But he's in his 70s. He can very easily never put out another album.
Oh, for sure.
Have a perfect legacy.
For sure. But if it was 2010 or somewhere around there, the early 70s, I mean, it's a 40-year run. Like, well done, sir. Mm-hmm. I mean,
and just to cover, so this album, Small Change, so you said it was his fourth. Up until then, all his albums had been pretty much, that like barfly kind of jazzy, loungy type of music. But it was like starting with Small Change, like he started incorporating a lot of like weirdness into his songs. Like
it's almost like cinema or
exactly,
something.
like a burlesque show, or like a carnival almost. There's a song on there called Pasties in a G-string.
Yes.
Which is, the entire song is just a drum and him singing about, some seedy strip show that he's going to.
Yeah.
And, that's very much not a loungy bar song.
No.
But, it kind of paved the way for an album like Rain Dogs 10 years on that was just bustling to the brim with, horns and weird, like, cacophony, like junkyard sound.
Yeah.
And it's just seeing that evolution has just been incredible. And Small Change, I think, is the album where, like, you start seeing that, like, coming to you. Okay, he's a great lyricist.
Yep.
He's got the barfly down. But
he's found himself.
Album, he's like, all right, I can, like, spread my wings, see what else I'm capable of. And he nails it.
I feel like a lot of the feeling of a lot of the tracks on this record are as if he's at the piano, he's in front of the mic, and he's looking out at this bar full of interesting folks. Yep. And there's a lot going on, and he's describing everything that he sees. Mm-hmm. So if you're not in there, you can kind of picture everything, except for there's like this small pocket of weirdness going on behind him that he's not telling you about. Yeah. And you kind of want to keep...
Can you mention that?
Yeah.
I want to know what that's
that?
About.
Yeah. Which I think maybe a little bit intentional, but I mean, it just, I don't think in my lifetime anyway, I'll ever come across a storyteller with a unique approach like that. And it's just really good stuff. So you were listening to, or you heard some Pink Floyd when you were younger?
Yeah, so, the big songs, Wish You Were Here,
sure.
Comfortably Numb.
Oops.
Sorry about that. You're fine. So, yeah, I listened to, the big songs, Wish You Were Here, Comfortably Numb, Money, the songs that were on the radio, the radio hits. But then it was like in college, I was like, okay, I'll listen to, Dark Side of the Moon all the way through. And I was like, okay, that was really good. And then the next one I listened to was Animals.
Okay.
And Animals, Dark Side of the Moon was great, and I've listened to it, a million times at this point.
Of course.
But, like, the first time I listened to Animals, it's like I can almost, it's like you said, The Matrix. It's like you came online, you're like, so this is what music can, like, do. And, like, that was, like, the first time that I was like, okay, there's, like, intention here.
Yes.
Like, people, like, had a sound in mind, and they worked hard to perfect that sound.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Well, I think, kind of being in the oldies for a good while. AM is what my mom's car, and then middle school I'm listening to a lot of classic rock on the radio, and from there I'm building my own collection. I think my first heavy pit stop was Led Zeppelin. Mm-hmm. And as is probably is the case with a lot of folks, the next move was Pink Floyd. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had an instant obsession. Yep. So it's like I get The Wall, get Dark Side, get Wish You Were Here, and then I was like, all right, I gotta have the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I went back to Piper at the Gates of Dawn,
fantastic,
and Saucer Full of Secrets.
Those early Sid years were very much unlike what they would like come to be known for later on.
Polar opposites to me,
different.
And also just not my cup of tea. Like,
also fair.
I know the tunes, I know, but it's just. It was sort of like a bunch of homework I have to do that it's not going to do anything for my grade, but I have to do it. Yep. And then I think Obscured by Clouds is next. And I was like, whoa, that is a pivot from those first two
Something
records.
going on, yeah.
And you've got like Umagumas somewhere in there. I kind of Adam Hart Mother wiggled my
So,
antenna.
Adam Hart Mother, I think, was the first. I mean, it wasn't the first I listened to. I listened to like well after I listened to like Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here.
Is this cow in the boot with the
The cow on the field?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an album that, funnily enough, the band members themselves don't think very fondly of.
Oh God,
Like,
so good.
I love that. It's a very particular album. Like, it's a peculiar album.
Yes.
And just like the structure of it, the one giant song
Yes.
and then tiny individual compositions after. But yeah, the band members themselves aren't fond of it, but that was one of the first, like, it being, a 20-plus minute song to start off the album. I was like, what the hell is
Right?
this? This is amazing.
You can do that.
Yeah, like, you're allowed to do that? Record labels will let you get away with this?
So I remember feeling a certain way about Obscured by Clouds, and Umaguma's weird. It's got like
Not my
that
favorite
several
of theirs.
small species of furry
And
gathered
gluing together and
Yeah.
moving with a pick.
Yeah, just kind of like, all right, that's interesting. And again, Adam Hart Mother being like, whoa. But I kept moving forward, and for whatever reason, I must have pivoted, or I ran out of steam with this whole self-imposed notion, and I didn't give Animals the attention it deserved. Listened to it a couple, 3 times, dogs ever get radio play? Maybe occasionally.
Maybe like an edit.
Yeah,
It's a 17-minute song. I'd be surprised.
Right.
If,
There's so it's kind of like, and then I at that time, like Momentary Lapse was pretty hot, like Learning to Fly, and there's another tune on that one that has Dogs of War.
Dogs of War is on there.
And then it's like what was the double live that came out?
The Pulse.
No,
Or,
it was
Delicate Sound of
Delicate
Thunder.
Sound of Thunder. Like that, I kind of stayed with that because I felt like qualified. Like, this is current, modern, recent,
I can
and
get with this.
I've got all the back albums that I need. And then I had a little bit of rap and hip hop, and then by senior year and going off to school, that's kind of when I went down the jam band path and really never looked back. But I had this one evening in particular at college where I was hanging out with this girl. So I went to Pittsburgh State for a year. And it was a weird year for sure. I went because my junior and senior year of high school was full of partying. And it's like everybody's going to KU. And I was like, if you go there, like, it might not end well. So you should,
Little taster.
Yeah, so I ended up down at Pittsburgh State. I have some friends, but I was coming back a lot and going to parties here or up in Lawrence anyway. But when I was down in Pittsburgh, I was, for a little while, I was hanging out with this girl who was from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and she was a military kid, like they'd moved a ton. And for whatever reason, we connected, and we very much enjoyed smoking pot and doing acid together. And so on this one evening, I think we had plans to hang out, and something happened. So I ended up hanging out with these dudes, and I put a dose on my tongue, and was once, an hour or so in, everything's going great. I just had this weird, like, I don't know if I feel like being around people anymore. And so
Need to get alone.
I went back to my room, and I had a couple different roommates. I had my first one. He started dating a girl immediately, and then made some kind of move to get his own room down the hall. And so I had the room to myself for a while, and then I had another roommate, and then he ended up moving in with somebody else across the hall. And then so I had these couple different pockets where I had the room to myself. And the dudes that I was hanging out with were from just outside of Wichita, this little town called Derby. And one of them had an older brother that was already down there, and we helped him move one day, and there was this chair. There was this big, just super comfy, nothing special about it, just kind of a box, but with good cushioning.
Holds you in.
No ottoman, no recline, no head, just no, anyway. And so it wound up in my room because there wasn't a place for it to be otherwise. And, so I left and went up to my room, and I just had this feeling that I needed to listen to animals alone in the dark. Mm-hmm. And so I sat in that chair and put my cassette copy in my Walkman, put my headphones on, and turned it up as loud as it could go. And I, knew the words, of course, and the tune to both Pigs on the Wings, basically by heart. Like I had listened to it enough. I knew Dogs pretty well, but I think I also Pigs, 3 different ones. It's the rock, but I'd never really given Sheep the time that it is. I just got goosebumps. I mean, it is so fantastic.
Climax, yeah.
Sonically, like the way that it opens and you get like the bleeding in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're on a farm.
Coming in,
and
yeah.
then, I mean, there's so much like so the whole point is that, of course, the Wall, Dark Side, and Wish You Were Here are the 3, mega monsters.
Oh, yeah.
But Adam Hart Mother and Animals and what's the third one?
People like to throw in metal.
Thank you.
Echoes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just 2 weeks ago, I did something, and I was in so much pain. And so I got in. My chiropractor has a couple different massage therapists at his practice. And this one gal's like super nice and friendly and relatively chill. The other gal's really young and it's super aggressive. Like, I mean, like, so I had a 90-minute session and we talked almost through the whole thing, but I had like some 75-second and 90-second and 2-minute delays in being able to answer a question because I was just like, I got to breathe through it because it hurts so bad.
Right.
But she put on this, she's very garden, earthy, makes all her own salves and always puts on a playlist. And so she put on this playlist, and it was kind of just all over the place. And about 45 minutes or maybe even an hour into the massage, I heard that super high pitch ping. And I go, like, immediately, I go, is that what I think it is? And she was like, it's like, how could you know what and she's like, what do you think it is? And I was like, I mean, it sounds like echoes from, and she was like, yeah, that's what it is. And I was like, this record like kind of changed my life. I mean, right in that pocket of like, I'm going to become an amazing guitarist and all the ladies are just fearless. I was like, this is the one. This is the one that's going to set me to, I just got to learn how to play this.
That little guitar,
yeah.
Like the chord changes on there.
And so much, so much fascinating happening on that record. I mean, Saint-Tropez and Seamus the one with the dog barking.
It's such a weird, like, all over the place.
Yes.
Like, it opens with one of those days. It's like a very,
I'm going to cut you
like,
into tiny pieces.
Yeah.
What?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And then, it goes into, Pillow of Winds, Fearless, like
yes.
really smooth.
Yes.
But then Echoes
Beach,
comes
you
in
get
at
a
the
beachy
end.
kind of.
Yeah, Saint-Tropez
yes.
very much. We're just going to chill on the
yes.
beach.
But so Dark Side of the Wall and Wish are the big. But for me, Adam Hart, Metal, and Animals are kind of the unsung heroes. Yes,
ones, yeah.
yes. And I think that Animals is maybe where we get the best drumming. Nick Mason.
Oh yeah, very understated drummer throughout his whole career.
Right.
I mean, he never had to be much of a like showy guy when you have Richard Wright and David Gilmour in your band, but yeah, Animals is definitely where they were like, all right, Nick, you've been holding back long enough. You
Well,
can do your thing.
and it's not even like a showcase. It's
It's
just
just
the
like
timing and the
impeccable, like very
touch.
like loud, like it's
I
a little more
also
like aggressive.
I also
than-
think that this is maybe some of Roger Waters' finest bass playing.
oh yeah,
And it's a little. I'm kidding, but it's a little hard for me to say that because I'm very not a Waters guy.
Fair.
Have
Yeah.
you
I'm
spent any time
I
reading?
listen to his solo stuff. It's not nearly, as impactful for me as Pink Floyd was, but I did see him live a few years ago.
Same.
The Us and Them tour.
Okay.
And, to this day, the greatest concert I've ever
Okay.
been to. It was just
Okay.
'cause I was expecting to be all right. He'll mostly play his solo stuff, but like the first half of the show, a lot of songs, a lot of his solo stuff.
Is
a lot
it
of Pink
T-Mobile?
Floyd. It was at T-Mobile,
Like
yeah.
4 or 5 years ago?
About 5 years ago.
I was
5, 6
there.
years ago, yeah.
Not a cheap ticket.
It wasn't. No.
I mean,
but
and that's where we first got like the real Trump.
That's the
Eres un
thing,
pendejo, and a lot of oh shit.
when the second half, like after the intermission, like that big wall
Yes.
comes down,
Yeah.
and it's like they project like the factory from Animals. I was like, oh god, it's happening. And like he broke straight into Dogs, and they played like almost the entirety of Animals. I was like, this is the highlight.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Nothing's ever gonna
Right.
top this. And obviously, I'm never gonna get to see Pink Floyd, so that's as close as I'm
Right.
gonna get. So
They finally, but have you read about their dispute, their
oh
feud?
yeah.
So tell me what your synopsis.
I think they're just a bunch of crotchety old men that
Okay.
that are very hard set in their beliefs, and
Okay.
at this point they've been feuding for decades.
But they finally.
at the the O2 in the
Has it
early
been
2000s,
that long?
yeah, it was. It
Okay.
was like 2005, 2006, but it was at the O2 Arena.
Oh, I see.
And it was that was the last time they all performed together, and since then they haven't taken shots at each other
No,
as
right.
much as they did back in the day, but it's very much
I feel like Gilmore's shots were always very kind of just quiet.
yeah, his because after Gilmore married Patty, I can't remember her name, but she kind of did more of the Roger was the one that did this and this.
When is he still married to her?
I think they are. I don't want to.
And when do you think they got married?
That was right around momentary lapse of reason.
Okay.
Reason Division Bell time,
That's-
because she was a heavy
Division
lyrical
Bell.
influence on Division Bell.
Division Bell was the first time, if memory serves, that he was direct. There's a lot lyrically in there.
Yeah.
He's just saying,
Yeah, hey Roger, what the hell, man? Yeah.
dude, look what you know.
Yeah.
So, not too long after Animals, I think Rick Wright got the
It was
boot
during the Wall.
during the
that,
Wall. Okay, which is so Animals is 77, Walls 79. Okay,
Yeah, they did that run with Dark Side was 73, which he was 75, Animal 77, Wall 79, which was just one of the greatest.
have a
runs,
decade. Have
ever.
yourself
Yeah.
a decade. Pink Floyd.
But yeah, during the Wall is when it all just came to a head.
Yeah.
And Rick Wright was like, "Hey, I'm not doing enough. I think I should get a little more input. I'm a founding member of the band. I think it's only fair." And Roger was like, "All right, get out."
See, the things that I've always read is that your cocaine use is out of control, and
That too.
Okay,
I mean, everyone was, but yeah, there's specifically what song is it? Nobody Home on the Wall. There's a lyric on there where he says, I've got a silver spoon on a chain. I've got a grand piano to prop up my mortal remains. That is very directly
shots taken.
get your shit together.
Damn.
But it's very much they were just not on the same page whatsoever.
And see, that's, I mean, obviously stuff like this happens if you're in a band that is around for long enough, and a band that is, I mean, from day one, we like drugs, all of the drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And we also think that if you take drugs, this, what
You'll
we're
be-
doing
yeah,
is pretty.
this'll be for you.
Yes. So I lost my train of thought, but Wall, Final Cut, and that's it.
After
and
Final Cut was pretty much
What-
Roger
yes,
Waters featuring
yes.
Pink Floyd
yes,
at that point.
and so as I'm like I said, I kind of didn't give Animals what it deserved, but I did make it through. I was happy to get through Final Cut, and I'm buying these with my own money when I can, so it's kind of like every trip to the record store can't just be a Floyd. I gotta get. So anyway, now I'm like, okay, cool. Momentary Lapse and Delicate Sound. Division Bell came out not too much longer after that, but I was like, here's what I've gleaned. It's that Roger wants basically 100% credit for everything that this outfit's done. He especially wants credit for songwriting credit.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you lay down a bass track to Another Brick Part 2, right? And then you bring it to the guys and the thing takes form. That's just the bass line. I know that's a key part of the rhythm section, but none of this sounds the way that it does without Gilmour. Right. And it's not like you're telling him, okay, here's what you're going to do.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
And by the way, his first 2 solo records are
fantastic.
I totally dug those.
Face, yeah.
Yes, and self-titled was the first one.
Well, I think yeah.
And
then his recent, he had was it Rattle That Lock a decade ago?
Okay,
so that was a really good.
Was it really?
I love David
oh
Gilmour,
man, I gotta write that down. So I could tell that the Final Cut was, as you said, Roger Waters featuring Pink Floyd, or however. And then it's like, so I think that was 83, and Momentary Lapse is 87 or 89. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's Pink Floyd. This sounds like the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And you're mad because you don't want them to use the name, and you want all
that
the
was a big thing. Yeah, he's like, you can't use the Pink Floyd name anymore.
Or all the way up to and including like a pig.
Yeah.
And none of the icon,
the hammer, none of that. You can't use any of that.
Take a hike. I mean, and also right around the wall, maybe Animals Tour. I think it had been become visible to several folks that Waters was not the biggest fan of their fans, and having to
spitting incident.
Yes,
which that was what spawned the wall. Him realizing like, okay, it feels like I'm completely disconnected from my fans at this point, and then that's what spawned the concept for the wall. But
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
But you're right. At that point, it was right around Dark Side is when he kind of started taking a bit more control. Like, all right, here's what I want to write about. Like more like universal, like punchy topics.
Yes.
Because until then, it had been metal and Obscured by Clouds and the albums that were more like loose and more. We'll just talk about how we feel and stuff. But then with Dark Side was we're gonna die tomorrow.
Right.
We got mental stress, and we got all this stuff going on.
Well, when I lost my train of thought talking about drugs and Rick Wright, he's kind of the unsung hero.
I agree.
From
100%.
I'm not gonna include the first 2, but from that whole arc of Obscured by Clouds to The Wall, the other 3 dudes are amazing, but he's kind of the glue. Yeah.
He was never the flashiest keyboardist, but
Didn't
every
need to
single chord he played, you were like, okay, that was the perfect chord to play.
It's
right
like
there.
all of the elements, like fire, water, wind.
He's the avatar.
Yes,
keyboard,
yeah. Let's break real quick for restroom and get you another beverage
absolutely.
if you want. Nice, Jack White.
Yeah, from earlier this year at Starlight. Yeah.
Not too long ago. Just a couple
it was in August. Just a few months ago.
Amazing.
One of the greatest. That's the third time I've seen him.
Really?
Once solo, once with the Wreck on tours, and then again solo now.
I don't know if I knew that he was part of the Wreck on tours.
They're good. But yeah, this was by far his best performance.
Okay, and this is cell phone gets put in a thing, right?
Had to put your cell phone in a bag at the beginning.
And then do you keep the bag with you, or do they have it like a coat check kind of thing?
We left our phones in the in our car.
Okay.
But yeah, they keep your phone.
Okay.
And they give it to you in a bag. If you need to take it out of the bag, you can go to them. They'll let you out. You can use your phone, then they'll let you back in, put it back in the
Man.
bag. And yeah, but it was fantastic.
That's awesome.
And they have like photographers backstage, and they like release all the photos.
I saw a couple.
Yeah,
and it looked like he was
like you could, because it was. We got those tickets through my work at the time.
Okay.
And it was like 6th row, 7th row. Like we could feel the sweat coming off the guy. Like it was insane. And there are a few pictures where you see me and my friend just rocking out.
I mean, I saw a shot that's like, coming this way towards him and the stage, and it looks like he is getting after it. Yeah. And you could, it's palpable.
He's been going at it for over 20 years, like almost 30 years now, and the dude's rocking like he just started. Like he's
nice.
It's insane.
Love that. But the two Pigs on the Wings are, they're beautiful.
It's a very
sad,
pretty but sad, bookends.
Yeah, and of course it's short. And I mean, Pigs, 3 different ones. Have they ever rocked that hard?
So between Pigs and then the very end of Sheep, like that last little
yes.
That last riff
God.
Like, that's probably like the peak, like the most triumphant that they've ever sounded, especially after all that comes before it. You're like, okay,
yeah. But when that spot in Pigs, 3 different ones, where Gilmore just goes absolutely bananas, it's the climax kind of, and I mean he's down on the fretboard and bending this like you're like, dude, you're gonna break a string, like you are shredding right now.
But you didn't do that often. Like he was very much a methodical, like I'll let this note ring out for a while, but yeah, on Pigs is where he just lets it go.
Something super eerie about the way that song kicks off. You just get that snort, and then you get
that pig sound,
and that sort of UFO kind of laser kind of. So the Pigs, 3 different wings, and then Pigs on the Wing 1 and 2, Pigs, 3 different ones, and Dogs are all, you can't say enough about them. They're fantastic, but there's something about Sheep that is so real, like it's got some weird blend of rural and urban, and just kind of in your face, and you
very anxious. It's got a lot of energy to it,
and it's spooky and mysterious. And honestly, it's got to be where we get that label today. If you use an Apple product, or if you can apply it to anything, but to call someone a sheep, I mean, it's got to be from that.
If not the first time, it's one of the first times. Because I know, I don't know if Animal Farm directly addressed like people as sheep, but on Animal, like the album, Roger Waters was very much like, this is what's coming to us if you don't wake up.
Well, and I think for the way that things would ultimately go for that band, and then him, the figure that we know and watch perform today, I think that was kind of a springboard to his whole political kind of.
And what's funny too is that so Animals came out in '77, which was right after like the birth of punk, like it had started, really like forming, and punk was very much the antithesis to everything that prog rock was, and that Pink Floyd was. No more were these 12-minute long guitar solos and jazzy diminished 7th chords and whatever. It was just 2-minute songs, 3 chords and the truth. Screw everything else.
Right. And also happening in their neck of the woods, across the pond, as it were.
Specifically, I remember Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols. I don't know if he called them out by name, but he was very much vocal about screw those old timers like Pink Floyd. He referred to them as dinosaurs.
Okay.
And so
whatever,
I think
dude.
Animals was kind of like okay, we can do our own. We'll stay in our own lane, but we can make angry passionate music as well. It doesn't all have to be noodly, whatever.
Right.
And then I think especially Sheep was the climax of
Yes.
that. Like you said, it was this is our version of punk.
Yeah. And I don't, not that I would ever try to compare a Floyd album to an album by another artist, but that the whole notion of bookending the album, like I can't think of another album where it's been done
So
quite.
funny enough, so Animals has, two really short songs at the end, and then the three monsters in the middle.
Yes.
Right before that, you had "Wish You Were Here," which is "Shine
Shine
On,
On,
You Crazy Diamond," a
1 through 8,
5-minute song split in two, and then three kind of shorter.
Oh
songs
yeah, you
in
got
the middle.
title track, "Have a Cigar," and
"Welcome to the Machine."
yes,
Which was very much, kind of the reverse. Like it had those bookends, but it was more of like the bookends are the meat of the album.
Yeah.
And then they got to Animals, and it was like, here's some pretty warm up to the monstrosities that you're gonna get.
So crazy. So that Roger Waters show, like I said, that's all the Trump stuff, and very just, as the kids say, zero fucks given, right?
Yes.
Like I'm putting it all out there. Yeah. Come for me if you're going to come for me. And then he just finished another tour, right?
He did the This Is Not a Drill
and
tour.
I feel like he even went...
He upped the ante a bit, yeah. And he's always been very outspoken as far as the members of Pink Floyd goes. He's by far the most outspoken.
Right.
Really, it's hard to name any like rock stars from that era that you can name today that are still like kind of in the spotlight like that.
Right.
But yeah, especially he made some comments about the Ukrainian war that people were like, "All right, dude."
I think I read something where like he's had some booze.
Yeah.
And maybe some folks have
dipped
I
out,
think I saw some folks leave that show that we were at.
I mean, I believe
it. And
that
I
was
definitely
before
did.
He was like saying this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but definitely, murmuring like with their partner or friend or who they're leave, like, again, not a cheap ticket. And
it's funny because it's like, this is not what I expected. Like, have you ever listened to Pink Floyd? This is very much his message, and it always has been.
Yeah, and also, like, where have you been? Like, it's not a secret that Waters feels the way he feels, and has no bones saying it. So, anyway, but I remember seeing something from this recent tour where it very clearly upped and just kind of being like, let's take it back down a notch.
Especially because the other members, like Nick Mason and David Gilmour, got together earlier this year with a Ukrainian artist and released like a charity single for Ukraine, like raising money for their war efforts. And then you have Roger Waters, like the other part of Pink Floyd,
stomping his feet a little harder than the last time.
Yeah,
that feels like a very Gilmour Mason thing to do, like a philanthropic.
Yeah,
and Rick Wright's been gone for
about 15 years.
Is it 15?
Yeah,
damn.
It's been a while.
R.I.P. in peace to that guy. But such a good record, man. I just it's one of those things where it's absolutely perfect the way that it is, but I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit longer, too, because everything is so good. It's like you don't want it to end.
Drag this on a little. I wouldn't mind at all. Yeah. Even there's a section in Dogs, which is probably, if not my favorite song ever, easily one of my favorite songs ever. There's a section in the middle, like after the big guitar solo, that's just like a big spacey like synth.
We get the barking.
Passage. Yeah. When we saw that live, the whole time it was like this weird like stage show, like the members like all put on like pig masks and they were all like sitting at a table and a butler came out and served them stuff, and the whole time I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, it feels like this part of the song feels like you could just throw anything like visual into it and it'll just creep you the fuck out. It's very much this is the part of the song that you're just like not sure what to do with yourself. Like, this is where you think about, okay, like, what's happening.
There will, before the lights went out, there was this big rectangular screen with imagery. I can't remember exactly what, but I sat down and was like, well, that looks expensive. And then the show starts, and it's how many people are on stage with him? Like
It
five,
was him,
six.
and then there was like two. There were like a few background singers, all
Yep.
the instrumentalists. It was an expensive production.
And then the light, no expense spared for the light show.
I was gonna say that big finale, like when the prism, like
Yes.
when everything. Yeah, it was.
You know, kind of like, oh, okay, but I mean, I don't even remember what it was, $145 something. I remember feeling like, yeah, this is all very expensive, but also still feels like you've probably made enough money over the years to like. Anyway, so interesting though that 76 and 77, yeah, for small change in animals.
Yeah, I didn't realize like when I was picking my three, I didn't realize till after I sent them like, oh, those are two very. Records, and
we
then
went
the third
bing
one
bing, and then we catapult
Yeah.
a good long ways to 2010 with LCD Soundsystem.
Yep, this is happening.
I was talking about this with another guest, and Fish is my all-time favorite. I saw him in August for the 78th, 79th, and 80th time. My kids are both named after them. I mean, I could go on. But this guest and I, who's also a Fish fan, both shared that we didn't realize until we were talking that this phenomenon of like searching for the next greatest that for us is okay. Now this is the greatest band of all time, and he thinks he's Goose. He's really into Goose. And
they're new, yeah.
I dig them too.
Really good, yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about the torch being passed from Fish. I mean, Trey from Fish is playing with Goose like right now.
Really?
Yeah, for 6 or 7 shows. His band, Trey Anastasio band. So they're doing like Goose opens and he comes out with them, and then Trey band plays and some of the Goose guys come out. So
that's cool,
yeah. There've been a couple bands where I was like, oh my God, this might be it. And the first time I listened to this record, I was like, oh my God, I think that they have arrived. I was quickly derailed. So I have a confession to make. I've listened. My next door neighbors. They've actually both. That's the husband and wife that have each done an episode. They have 3 kids. My kids and them. They play together all the time. Sometimes we hang out, and they have a nice deck and some outdoor speakers. And he's always got tunes on. And if sometimes we're hanging out, it's loud, but often it's very, very enjoyable. So this record has been on a bunch over there. I've listened to it a bunch on my own, but every time I listen to it on my own, I find myself going back to Dance Yourself Clean, I Can Change, and Home. And the rest of the album is kind of just like, it's never really grabbed me.
That's fair.
So I should have, a more professional podcast host would have made the time to give it a front to back to brush up, but I ran out of time. And so sell me on the rest of this record, because those 3 tracks are amazing.
So you said Dance Yourself Clean, Home, and what was the
and
I
Can Change.
And I Can Change. That's the one that people usually go to. That dun, 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 that little synth line is so iconic.
Bang, bang, bang,
fantastic. So I feel like when it comes to LCD Soundsystem, Sound of Silver is probably their bigger.
Oh yeah,
record.
This is 3 of 4.
This is their third, and This Is Happening was supposed to be their last album.
Right.
They disbanded, like they broke up after they had this huge farewell show at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, James Murphy was like, actually, I want to make more music. So they came out with another album.
Number 4?
Number 4,
okay.
Yeah. American Dream, which some fans weren't as big a fan of. I really enjoyed it. But a lot of fans, for some reason, saw it as like a cop-out. Like, it lessened the impact of the farewell tour.
Okay, whatever.
Which, I don't see it that way. I can kind of see, but he's making more music. What more could you ask for? Like it's good music.
He's
It's still
cut.
LCD Soundsystem.
He's the meat and potatoes, and then
Yeah.
there's a bunch of other.
Yeah, he's the main songwriter. A lot of the instrumentation is him. He'll Nancy Wang is on there
Yes,
a lot too.
yeah.
But it's
If
mostly
you look at so it's like the six or seven
5 or 6 guys,
primary,
yeah.
and then you've got like a couple of ancillary folks, and then another subset of But up here in the meat and potatoes, like all 4 or 5 of the other folks, one line, and his is like a huge
James Murphy
paragraph
does
of all
everything,
right.
Yeah. But he's very much so LCD Soundsystem didn't really get big until James was already like in his 30s. There's a song on the first album called "Losing My Edge,"
Okay.
which is all about I'm the one that was playing rock songs at the disco clubs, and now all these kids are coming up and taking my thunder, and it's like I'm still cool too, guys. But it's funny because that was like his big breakthrough when he was already like going through a midlife crisis at this point.
Okay.
So then LCD Soundsystem's kind of whole lyrical focus is I'm old, but I can still have fun and, reminisce on the past, but still have an eye on the future,
Sure.
kind of.
So all 4 records well.
Yes.
And so the first one is
Self-titled.
okay.
Was the first one, LCD
and
Soundsystem.
this one's 2010. When's that one out?
I want to say 2003, 2000, maybe 2005.
Okay.
But I know Sound of Silver was 2007.
And that's number 2.
That was number 2, and that was the big one.
The couple little blips I saw were kind of throwaway one-liners saying it's not like the last record, and I've not. Which one has the name of a song is like so and so is playing.
That's the first album. Daft Punk is playing at my
Yes,
house.
yes.
Yeah. Their first album is very much it's very, like I said, meat and potatoes, bare bones kind
Okay.
of dance punk album, rock guitar, keyboards here and there. Just we're here to have a good
Sure,
time.
but record 2 is
Sound of Silver, he kind of like matured. There's
Okay.
a song specific. There's 2 songs on there that are back to back on the album. Someone Great and All My Friends.
Okay.
Which are like
All My Friends sounds familiar.
All My Friends is probably their biggest, like most iconic.
Okay,
song.
okay.
But between those 2 songs, it's like, okay, you're gonna make me feel things now. Like Someone Great is about his therapist passing, his longtime therapist that he'd had for like 20 years passed. And
Wow.
So the whole song is about like, I wish I had someone to talk to about this,
man.
but that was you. And
Wish
now,
I had a Tom Waits buddy.
Right, exactly. And then, All My Friends is about, looking back on, I'm in my 40s now. Where are all my friends? Like, what's happened?
Wow.
I could have there's a specific line on there that always like tears me up. That's I wouldn't trade one stupid decision for another 5 years of life. That's like I don't care what happens for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I just want this moment like to last. And it's that kind of just the music is never super like complex, but it's like super like it fits, like it just hits like, the lyrics.
Yes.
And then for most people, Sound of Silver is where they peaked. Like that was, this is it. For me personally, This Is Happening was like a step up.
Dude.
It's a lot more, Sound of Silver is more like bare bones. Like it's a little more like the debut.
Okay.
Like we're just sticking
Sure.
to these sounds. But This Is Happening's where he's like keyboard, synths, crazy production, everything. We're throwing it in and it's going to sound amazing.
I mean, it feels like sonically, it feels like a stage production.
Huge,
like,
yeah.
a lot of punch, a lot of very specific timing that can't be
Yep,
off.
just
Even
one little 2 or 3 sounds here and there.
And energy and a little bit of attitude and a sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
but,
he's a hilarious, like so self-deprecating, so
but also
witty,
fun.
Yep.
Like the overarching.
Because you mentioned "Dance Yourself Clean."
You mentioned what an
which,
opener. I mean,
like, I don't know why, like, what he does with like the mixing, but it's so quiet. The opening of that song, like the first 3 minutes, you're like, "Is this how the whole album's gonna
Right,
be?
yeah.
All right, I can dig it. It's a vibe." And then as soon as that like first punch hits, when like the synths come in, it's like blows your speakers out.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the album, it
is
just
that the
does
one that
nothing
has the Muppet video? Or is
The
it?
Muppet video is New York, I love you, but you're bringing me down.
No, one of these three has. Yeah, like
I don't know that I'd seen a music video.
it's in New York, I think, and they're filming. Like, there's a ton of people around, and the Muppets are like some of the Muppets. A weird collection, not like all the people, because it would have been perfect if it was all the original Muppets, and right when they come in with
Right.
the animal could be up at the kit. But
I'm picturing that now. That would be amazing.
anyway, I think maybe why I get derailed is because, Dance Yourself Clean is so powerful and, kind of inspiring. And then Drunk Girls is
Drunk
track
Girls is
two.
very much
And I'm
very
like,
different song.
What is it's throwback to Sex Pistols
So
era.
it's I always think of it as a throwback to Velvet Underground.
Okay, but
specifically
Velvet Underground never had that kind of tempo.
Specifically, White Light, White
Okay,
Heat.
okay, fair enough.
It's very much that just like
Yes.
drunk girls like White Light.
Yeah.
But I think that song is very much we got through that one. He's just a funny little let's move to the next song. But even Drunk Girls has there's a line on there. Drunk girls know that love is an astronaut. It comes back, but it's never the same.
Right.
Who comes up with it? Like, fantastic line, but who in their right mind is like, yep, that's a comparison I can make.
One Touch and All I Want before we get to I Can Change are those.
One Touch is good. There's always one or two songs on every album that's like One Touch. It's just like that slow kind of bubbling burn. That just the occasional little flourish, but it's just a methodical, like classic post-punk, very Talking Heads vocals. Like,
Yes.
I don't think that we will be pleased with this. Like, it's just like all business, but still like having a fun time with it. And then All I Want is just pure Bowie worship. Like,
Oh, really?
I adore
Okay,
that
okay.
song. It's him. It's pretty much his take on Heroes era Bowie.
Nice.
Which, I mean, pretty much all of This Is Happening is very much him wearing his influences on his sleeve and like, here's what I love and here's what I'm gonna do with that.
Nice.
Like putting it into my like perspective. But that specifically is very much I love Bowie and this is my take on a Bowie song. And then, like you said, comes I Can Change.
Yes.
Which is like the big
emotional moment.
Yes.
So I had an Atari as a little kid, and then in high school I had a Nintendo. When I graduated college, I bought myself an original PlayStation. And for just every year, I would just get the new NHL game, and my roommate and I, that's all, And then I brought it when I moved back to Kansas City. It kind of continued into like 03, 04. And then I sort of I was consumed by the restaurant industry, so I didn't have a lot of video game. But one of the years, I want to say it was 99, the intro to the game is quite kind of like Dance Yourself, slow and quiet, and you're like, is it a game?
Is it a sports game?
And all of a sudden it blends into Heroes. And you can kind of hear that building in volume. And then like right at the climax of one of the We Can Be Here, they drop a bunch of live footage clips of like a huge check and a huge save, and then it all kind of turns into like a film reel and wraps up, and then the game starts. It's just an epic intro.
Right.
So that's where I kind of like, came online to. I knew Space Oddity, I knew Suffragette City, I knew a bunch of Bowie tunes, but radio stuff mostly. That really,
Heroes is like a song that really elevates Bowie.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta look into this Bowie cat. Like,
that was the same. That was the song that was
nice.
Like, what the hell is
yeah.
this?
Now when I hear anytime, and you can YouTube it. It's that intro. But anytime that song comes on, like especially if my kids are, I love showing them that.
Just picture the thing playing through.
So yeah, I Can Change, which goes, I think, I can change, and then eventually it's never change, never change. Is that right?
It's the other way around.
Other
It
way
starts
around.
With,
Oh.
So the first chorus is never change,
Okay,
never change.
okay.
This is just like, this is who I fell in love
Unless
with.
you fall in love,
Yeah.
or yeah.
But then later it's,
Okay.
I can change. Like, you don't have to change. I love you as you are, but if you need me to, I will be whoever you want me to be.
Wow.
But it's, if it helps
Powerful.
you fall in love, yeah.
And then you wanted a hit, Pow Pow,
Weird songs, but
and
amazing songs.
Somebody's Calling Me.
That's the song that really throws a lot of people off the album, is Somebody's Calling.
because
it's so you haven't listened to it in a while,
right?
I'm assuming. It's a very bare bones song, like almost like seedy, like don't, like just a very thudding bass line, like nothing really going on. But then the chorus hits, and it's just this like disgusting wall of noise that comes in, like this weird synth effect that hits like with his vocals, like in phase, and like follows him, which throws a lot of people off, and it kind of like doesn't fit with the rest of the album. I love it. I think it's a perfectly like weird setup for Home coming right after. But in a lot of talk, like there's a lot of discussion online. I see a lot of lists that are like, what's an album that's perfect except for one song? This Is Happening comes up a lot because of Somebody's Calling.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I'm not motivated to like rank the big three, my big three from this record. But I kind of think Home is the king for me. There's so many bits of nuance that they just nail perfectly. And just a couple lines in there. Something like "Shut the door on such a terrible year." I don't know. There's something about the different tempos and the transitions, and like I said, just the sounds. It's
bouncy.
Yes.
Like there's so much like that little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A great pop and bass line. All the key synth work is just. I mean, it's kind of perfect. It's also one of those deals where perfect the way it is, but I never want it to end.
Exactly.
I seldom listen to that song start to finish and don't hit it one more time. I mean, it's so good.
It's funny because Home specifically, there are references all throughout the album to Take Me Home or Going Home.
Yeah.
All I Want specifically has the big climax of the song is Take Me, like him screaming, Take Me Home. It's like the whole album is leading to Home at the end. We're just like, we're here.
Wow.
This is what we've been talking about.
So that was 2010, and then the next deal was 2019-ish?
It took a break. 2018, 2019 is when American Dream came out.
Okay.
Which, like I said, some people were a bit thrown off, like, James Murphy, whatever. Not their best album, because This Is Happening exists, but they don't have a bad album.
Right.
American Dream is right on par with.
Do you have any idea since then what they've been?
They've released a few one-off singles.
Okay.
There was a song a few weeks ago they released.
Really?
Called New Body Roomba, which is honestly one of the best songs they've ever done.
No way.
Period.
Okay.
But I don't know that they have any plans to release any albums coming up. I think they're happy just doing their little. They have some residencies in New York, and they're just
really
doing their thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Any side projects for anybody that you've heard of?
I know Nancy was involved in some stuff earlier this decade. I don't know that she's still doing anything, but not that I'm familiar with.
All right. So, any other records that are just huge?
Tons. I really wanted to include a hip hop record on here because I really do love hip hop. I didn't as much as a young man, and then it was around college.
Okay.
Because my friends, the hip hop that my friends listened to growing up was, I grew up in the bling era, so Soulja Boy, Lil Wayne, that kind of stuff.
I didn't know that it had that label, that name.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was fine, not my cup of tea. And then being kind of a not isolated, but kind of a not. I don't know how to put it. I kind of assumed that's what hip hop was. it's Lil Wayne and Soulja Boy and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then I got to college, and first it was Kendrick Lamar, and to this day, Kendrick Lamar is probably my favorite rapper.
All right.
But he was the one that I was like, wait, there's like there's substance here.
Yeah.
Like they're like talking about something. Not that Lil Wayne and Soulja Boy don't talk about anything, but with Kendrick, it was like all the whole message is here and up front. And then from there, I got like into older stuff: Tupac, Biggie, Eric B, and Rakim.
Okay. All right. Nice.
So a lot of that. Wu-Tang, obviously. More modern stuff. I'm a big JPEG Mafia fan. Open Mike Eagle, like that underground hip hop.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to pick one hip hop album, it would definitely be To Pimp a Butterfly. Like
Okay.
Far and away, and it's kind of cliche at this point, but T-Pab is, in my opinion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, hip hop albums ever.
Just listened to it for the first time. For a week ago today's guest.
Really? What did you think?
I mean, it was he gave me 5, and they were all great. One of my last chef job, before starting the thing I'm doing now, somebody brought in Kendrick, and they just kept playing Swimming Pools.
Great song.
I was like, this is garbage. Like, he sounded like he was just saying like cucumber, drank, ice cube, drank. And I was like, I don't get all, because I'd been hearing about him. Mm-hmm. So when this dude brought this, I was like, oh, cool. Like this is supposed to be the guy.
Not in your face.
So I pivoted or deflected Kendrick. I haven't willfully left him out, but I've just been pulled other directions. Mm-hmm. So let me actually just look at his list really quick. Because it was really, he's a rapper and a trombonist.
Interesting.
Very, very cool. And fascinating dude. So Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Great album.
Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor.
Love me some Lupe Fiasco.
Which I really loved. Back of Town by Trombone Shorty, which
I have a friend who's really into Trombone Shorty.
I hate Chef's Kiss, but Chef's Kiss. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy,
Kanye,
which I was like, okay, I dug it, but same deal. Like 2004, somebody gave me a couple Kanye records, and they were rough. Mm-hmm. One of them ends with like this super super long track where it sounds like he's just talking about himself, and I was like, I don't know about this guy. So I hadn't
even from the get go. You're like, all right, Kanye loves Kanye. Kanye's only gonna
Easy
talk
loves
about
himself,
Kanye.
and then To Pimp a Butterfly. Which, I gave 2 listens, not, undivided attention, and also as a collective of 5 and trying to think about things we're going to talk about. So for sure deserves undivided attention, couple of listens.
Very dense album.
But I was like... intimidated because I'm like, immediately it's like, oh, this is, the world decided that this record
really did
huge.
Happen like that, yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, is that okay if I listen to it now?
Which is so many albums that, you get older and you're like, you start building up like, okay, I've listened to a lot of music, but there's an album or two that you're like, I don't know if I can approach that one.
Right. Well, that's so I'm stuck right now. You said Wu-Tang, obviously. That's another one for me.
Chambers.
I bought 36 Chambers on tape in like 96 and was like, I don't think I get it. And I never, but I've done it for an episode, and then of course, there's all the dudes.
All their solos.
Yes,
stuff,
it's
which is also amazing, but
very big,
intimidating.
yes, yeah. So I'm, in fact, I'm kind of working my way through, in between whenever I have time, and trying to take what I think all of these are fascinating to me.
Right.
But I got to try and pick clips that I think will be interesting to other people, and make TikToks out of them. And so
get people interested. Yeah.
So I put one up, and I was voicing this, intimidation, lack of knowledge, Wu-Tang, and the verbiage that I gave the TikTok was, here's a white guy that knows nothing about Wu-Tang that is hosting a podcast about music. So there's that. But okay, so if you had to pick a hip hop, it's To Pimp a Butterfly. Okay. So have you dipped into Tribe and De La and?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Tribe Called Quest. Around the time that I got into Kendrick.
Sure.
What is it? Low End Theory. Still one of the greatest albums I've ever listened to.
Nice.
Because Kendrick pulls a lot from that side, like the more funky, like you said, De La Soul. But he also pulls a lot from the more just I don't care what's going on behind me. I'm just gonna spit about my life.
Back to T-Dubs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very much a blending of styles. You have this crazy jazz, funk backgrounds going on.
Sure.
And then he's saying some there's a song called Blacker the Berry on To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is intimidating, a completely different sense. Just one of the angriest sounding songs I've heard in my life. And there's a whole the whole song's about I'm black and I'm proud of it.
Right.
I don't care that I eat watermelon. Yeah, I watch BET. Yeah, so whatever. He's owning these stereotypes and saying I own them. You can't use them against me.
Yeah.
But then the whole end of the song is the instrumentation kind of dies out.
Oh wow.
And he just goes on this rant about so if I do all these things, if I give BET endorsements, if I eat watermelon on weekdays, and then he ends it with why should I weep when Trayvon Martin was killed in the streets when gang banging made me kill a person blacker than me? It's the whole song's about black on black violence, and then it ends with that's a tragic moment, but how can we feel tragic about it when this is our life? We caused this, and it's
oh yes.
Who else is
which I don't think everybody as a collective was a fan of that idea.
No.
But
that was very controversial.
I mean,
he said that.
Not that I'm in a position where I am, can speak to it, but I mean, somebody should say it.
And especially someone that grew up in he grew up in Compton. All his songs are about Compton. This is someone that grew up in that life, telling you that I don't want to be in this this is. And he just released his newest album a few months ago, earlier this year. And before every album, right before he releases the album, he releases a Heart single. The Heart Part 1, the Heart Part 2, the Heart Part 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're not on the record?
They're not on the record. They're just little one-off singles. And then for this album, it was the Heart Part 5. And the whole song is just it's about the culture. And it's about, this is what we cause. We can't, there's a line that says, when hurt people, calling it culture. It's we can't just hide behind the facade of culture anymore.
That makes me think of the Thug Life tattoo.
Essentially.
The hate you give little infants fucks everybody, I think was what it was. I mean...
it's just a self-perpetuating.
Man.
If we keep just saying, hey, that's how it is, then that's how it's always going to be. You see, he talks a lot about, his friends have gotten shot and killed. Nipsey Hussle died a few years ago. Takeoff of Migos just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's obviously it's not just rappers. People are dying. But it's specifically it's like he says, it's a culture issue. And he raps a lot about, I want to do something, but also don't expect me to be the only one doing something. We all need to, this needs to be a culture-wide effort.
Good for him, man. So do you own any De La physically?
Not physically. It's hard to come by.
Well, it's not available.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be last November. Them and Tommy Boy were supposed to resolve, and then we would get it in streaming. Mm-hmm. But if you...
I've listened to the albums.
You have? Okay.
I have, thankfully, just, pirating whenever I can.
Yes.
But there's a few albums that, like you said, they're not on streaming, and so it's very
Well,
difficult. Like in the age of streaming, that's where you get most of your music. So.
absolutely. And I firmly believe that no collection should be without 3 Feet High and Rising and Stakes is High.
Absolutely.
And for me, Stakes is High is like...
Can't match that. For me, personally, 3 Feet High and Rising is their peak. But
yes.
you can't argue. Like, when De La Soul are on, they are fucking on.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's incredible. And I don't know if you listen to much Gorillaz, but Gorillaz, like almost every album, they have at least 1 or 2 songs featuring De La Soul.
Okay.
They're really tight.
I only was kind of dialed in for their first... Was it self-titled?
The self-titled,
like
was the
white
one,
with
yeah.
some
with
purple.
The van and them. Like,
yes,
on
yes.
It, yeah.
And then they just haven't been on my radar since.
Fair,
but
yeah.
I see them pop up. Like I feel like they occasionally collab with other folks.
That's
or
pretty
feature.
much their whole thing.
Okay.
Like they have their sound, and then they just bring on other people to
Cool.
like, pile on.
Very
to
cool.
It, which another album I would have loved to pick for this would have been Plastic Beach by Gorillaz.
Oh, okay.
Just another 10 out of 10 album for me.
So how are you plugged in to the scene? How do you know like the Heart single comes out and
just a bunch of online forums. Just
really
I'm subscribed to a bunch of bands, like their pages. Yeah,
okay. What online forums such as
Bandcamp releases a lot of info. The Indie Heads subreddit on Reddit. I visit there a lot. On Reddit, there's Indie Heads, Pop Heads, and Hip Hop Heads. And those 3 just like every Friday. Like, here's the albums that came out today. Here's what's going on. It's
our albums dropping on Fridays.
Fridays are the day.
Wasn't it
used
Tuesday?
to be Tuesdays,
Forever?
I think like a decade ago.
Okay.
Like just within the past few years, like it's Fridays.
All right. I mean,
Fridays
set your weekend off to a good start,
yeah.
I guess.
That's the release day now, and then I just try to stay as much in touch as I can. Yeah.
Sure. So are you still in your 20s?
I'm 27.
27. I was going to guess 27. So what's 37 going to look like for you?
It's a good question. Hopefully, still with my girlfriend. Hopefully not my girlfriend at that point. Hopefully my wife.
Right.
But hopefully we're still doing what we love.
Are you guys cohabitating?
Yeah, we have an apartment up north.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully not an apartment. In 10
right,
years would be
right.
Nice.
That's how long did you date before you guys moved in together?
So we started dating like right before the pandemic hit. So right around when the pandemic was like, we're gonna be spending a lot of time together anyway. Might as well.
Smart.
Yeah.
Maybe, and that is kind of a unique situation that maybe kind of cancels out where I was going to go with this. But if 2 people are like they both as life goals like want to be partnered with somebody and have a relation, like moving in together is no joke. It's no small task. It's really where you finally
you're gonna be spending all your time.
Well, but I mean, like it's obviously a deeper look into the person.
Yeah.
For both sides.
Right. I want to take this step.
Yeah. And I think that there's some kind of thing about like, if you don't do it before you get married, then you get married and now you're okay. Now we're gonna cohabitate, and it's like that's how it's supposed to go.
Like traditionally,
right?
Yeah,
right. So it sort of feels like there's a little less pressure to kind of get comfortable and really like get to know the person on a whole other level. So if you just if you're just cohabitating and you're not married, I think that there can be some pressure to because like we made this leap together, but I think that perhaps having something like the pandemic and that very thought, we're going to be spending a lot of time together anyway, might as well, like that could be some glue that carries you the whole way.
Right.
Like, I mean, this is this was the way the world was.
Right.
And then it shifted a little bit, but we
we stuck it
entered the
out,
shift
yeah.
together, and
out the other
it's
side.
a new normal or whatever. But that's cool. So hopefully not an apartment. Hopefully not dating. Work wise, hobby wise.
If I'm bartending, then I'll be happy.
Okay.
If I'm doing something more math related, I'll be happy.
Okay.
As long as I'm, making money and not spending, 100 hours a week behind a desk or something.
Sure.
Like that would be ideal.
What does she do?
She's a teacher.
Okay.
Elementary school teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she is whatever you choose to do. She's supportive, and it's not like.
I mean, it's not like I'm gonna, just panhandle or anything.
No, I know, but I mean, there are certainly women out there that might say right now today, bartending is okay, and
But this is not what you're gonna do.
yes,
Forever, yeah.
And so you, as the dude, and then a couple of years you start getting take a dig or two, and then maybe eventually you have the talk where it's like, no, go
get a real job type thing, quote unquote.
right,
Job, yeah.
and it's like, well, what's different now? Like,
Yeah.
why was it fine? I don't, But so she's
No, it seems, she knows bartending makes me happy.
cool.
But she saw the stress I went through when I was a paraprofessional and in tech. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't for me.
Right.
And then, like I said, yesterday was my first shift at my new
Sure.
bartending gig, and I've been doing a few bartending gigs over the past few weeks, just at casinos, hotels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, through my dad works at
Okay.
Pinnacle now, so
Oh, right.
he's like, hey, Harrah's needs a bartender for this weekend. Sure, I'm there. But I came home last night and I was just so happy. I'm bartending again. This is what I want to do. And she
Cool.
was like, let's do it.
Nice.
So,
Good deal.
So that's really, really fortunate there. Yeah.
Will you guys have the travel fever that your folks do as you guys go
It's
through?
entirely I mean, I kind of have that now. I love
Okay.
getting out and seeing the world
Sure.
as much as I can. Haven't seen very much of it, but I'd love to change
Right.
that. I mean, yeah, we definitely want to do that. Maybe not to the extent that my parents, because they're pretty much retired, so they can.
Right.
But like I said, every few months they're like, we're going to Europe, we're going to South America, we're doing this and that. I was like, all right,
Cool.
hell yeah, go for it. It'll probably be a while before I get to that point, but I'd love to, Canada, if that's nearby, or just stuff that isn't so break the bank unreasonable.
Right. Hobbies, projects.
Lots of music, obviously.
Yeah.
Listen to lots of music.
You're very, very learned. I'm like, oh shit. Should we switch seats?
I've actually, my friends keep telling me, you should start a podcast, you should start a YouTube channel. So this is a really interesting experience to potentially open that door.
I don't do it as much as I did. This takes all my time now, but I watched a lot of reaction videos, and you see those folks just keep churning out the content and watch them 10,000, 50K, 100,000. It's just like,
going.
what?
Yep.
And they obviously have to do whatever.
I follow one guy on YouTube, Brad Tasted Music. He does weekly, more than weekly, every few days. He'll just does a stream, and he says, hey, pop in, donate some money. It's $5 a minute, and you just donate money and play any song you want. I'll listen to it. I'll react to it, let you know what I think. And as he's gotten bigger, the price has gone up to the point where people are suggesting whole albums for him to react to for $600-$700, and it's that's the dream. That is what, if people were paying me
get started tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
I'd never leave my room. I would just be in there listening to music.
I thought you
all
liked
day.
bartending. I mean, not that much,
right? Bartending isn't giving me this kind of money, but it's
wow, man.
If I could, obviously not everything is that lucrative, but it's just making content. I love talking about music. I love discussing music, listening to music. Every year I do on my Facebook page, I do a top albums of the year countdown in December.
Your dad mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, you don't feel pressure on that? Like, I would be worried. Did I miss like a major album? I just totally
I
missed
listen
it.
to as much as I can.
Right.
Obviously, there's some like albums that I won't put on my list that other people might
Right,
like. The
right.
new Taylor Swift album, not a huge fan.
Did
but
you listen to it?
I did.
I've
Yeah.
only gotten through it once, and I felt a little underwhelmed because there was a lot of pub.
Hype, lot of hype.
And it's coming out at midnight, and then there's a 3 a.m. thing, and then there's 4 different album covers.
That she did a big rollout for that.
So,
album.
but it's not across my years of listening to music. It's not uncommon for me to feel underwhelmed after one listen.
Oh yeah.
And
you don't really get the chance to like absorb everything.
right,
You know?
and she's also one of those people where I just know a little bit,
here and
and
there.
there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't,
She had an album last year that was more like folky, like a little more
Yeah.
rural.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, all right, this is the Taylor I can get behind. Like, I really like this. And then, Midnight.
She had one in 2019, maybe. That was.
I believe it. She had like Reputation or something came out around then.
I feel like that one was pretty darn good. I mean, I dig her, but I don't want to say it too loud because there's so much that I haven't
like
even.
Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Yeah, I respect her. Yeah, as an artist, she's great. Not the type of music I'd like go out of my way to listen to all the time.
Right.
But I do respect her as an
Yes.
artist. Absolutely.
And a weird creature in the sense that like she is probably. I mean, she certainly is in one of those camps where it's like you can't do anything, you can't go anywhere. Without some level of protection around, because you can't.
She's a superstar.
You can't go you can't go to McDonald's or the barbershop or the Heart without just being. But then also, and I just learned this from a guest that because I asked like, why the fuck does she keep putting Taylor's version? And it was because
initial back her credits,
the initial contract was not very artist friendly, and I think she tried to do something about it, and it didn't pan out. So now she
fight back, but now she's at a level where she's like, all right, I'm screwed. I'm just gonna buy back my masters anyway, and then do it my own way. So,
there, yeah.
Which I haven't. That's something I haven't really seen another artist do. Like just. I don't like the way this came out, so I'm just gonna buy it all back and do it how I think it should have been done the first time. Like I respect the hell out of
I
that.
mean, that's a big power move.
Huge. Yeah.
So if bartending or making money streaming was not necessary because money was not a concern for you and all of your people for as long as what would your days look like?
Probably like they do now. Just
Okay.
listening to music.
Nice.
Reacting to music, hanging out with my girlfriend. We watch Jeopardy every day.
No kidding.
So I'm a big Jeopardy fan.
Who's running it now?
Ken Jennings is the host for
Ken
the main
Jennings.
show. Yeah, he's the longest running champion in Jeopardy history.
Oh,
Like
okay.
Like the star of Jeopardy historically. So
Nice.
he's the host now, which is really cool. But yeah, we watch it every day religiously and
Cool.
yeah, it would
And do
pretty
you
much
guys
be like that?
have, as far as household responsibilities, or is it kind of set in stone who does what, or is it all fluid? You guys
Pretty
do.
fluid. She does the laundry. I do the dishes
'Kay.
mostly.
Okay.
That's like when it comes to laundry, it's her. When it comes
'Kay.
to dishes, like I'll take care of that
Sure.
mostly. But besides that, we both take out the trash. We'll both
Cook.
clean around the house. During the pandemic, we would split a lot. Lately, it's more her doing it just 'cause
'Kay.
I'm lazy. I should definitely get back into it. We do HelloFresh a lot.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
easy to. It
Are
all comes
you-
prepared for you?
Mostly pleased with everything that they send you, or
yeah.
do you get in there and customize stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's 3 meals a week, and you get to it's like here's the 40 meals you can choose from for this week, and it's like we usually do like 1 chicken, 1 beef, and 1 like vegetarian. Or
Okay,
something like
okay.
That. Like to change it up, but a lot of variety.
Yeah.
We haven't had anything that's just straight up disgusting or anything like
Right.
that. So
Right.
yeah, good stuff.
So of the list of folks, I've had one guy repeat, and I've probably chatted more Wu-Tang with him. Not in depth, just it's kind of little pockets across the 2 episodes. But I pitched the idea of trying to tackle the whole thing.
36 chambers.
All of
or
it.
even the solo stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only like 3 Wu-Tang records, right?
The main stuff, yeah, there's only like
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang as a collective. There's only, and then there was the record that they released only one copy of
Right.
a few years ago.
Right.
The Pharma Bro bought.
But no, all of it.
Yeah.
And and having him, I don't know, once every 6 weeks or once every 2 months or something, and we'd break format just a little bit, and both of us would kind of dig in and bring notes and opinions and sort of attempt to get after the whole body of work.
It's a dense body.
Yeah. So obviously it would be over a big period of time, but man, if you want to come again and have 3 different records, or I mean, I would totally be into, like some kind of project like that where if you're checking in on the scene kind of every Friday, and then maybe every month or every 2 months or something, you've got like a nice little bundle of notes and opinions, and you want to come sit and chat with, it kind of have to be a similar deal where I'd have to get some snippets of your notes so I could do some listens, and then we're kind of on the same page. But I would, if you were, I mean, I'd
absolutely
talk about it down the road. But
tons of great music all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
This year specifically, there's like 50 albums I could easily just like
50?
Recommend.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's, here in the middle of November. I mean, that sounds like probably an accurate number.
Yeah.
50 records that came out.
I mean, I've listened to maybe, I don't know, like 70 or 80 new albums this year that
Really?
came out this year. And of those, there's like 40 or 50 that I'd say like I would listen to this again. I would recommend this to other
now,
people.
If you start an album for the first time and you're not digging it, to maybe 3 or 4 tracks in, do you stay?
I try to stay. If I can tell like immediately like this is the whole sound of this is a non-starter for me, then I'm
eject.
Usually like, maybe not for me. I try to make it to like a song or two at least just to get a feel. But more often than not, I try to make it through a whole album at least once, just to be like, all right, I listened to it. I can say I listened to it. I have a sort of an opinion on it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, cool, man. When the place is open, when's the place opening? The new place?
Black Friday.
Okay.
From now, yeah.
I mean, right around the corner.
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So once that's open, and you've do you think that you'll probably have consistent shifts, or will it change?
I think like the way I talked about it with the owner, it'll probably be fairly consistent week. Yeah.
Well, once you're in and settled, I'd love to come have a drink and annoy you with random trivial tidbits while you're slinging drinks. So I'd like to come check it out. So hit me up. Thank you so much for making the trip from the Northland in the dark. Like, I saw a TikTok yesterday where a dude is coming out his front door and it says 4:59 p.m. and he goes, "Oh shit, I forgot my phone." And then it's 5 o'clock and he opens and it's pitch black. And he's like, "This is some bullshit."
It really does come at you out of nowhere.
I love to open blinds and pull to start the day. There's natural sunlight coming in, but I also really like to get those all closed once it's dark.
Right.
And sometimes in the middle of daylight savings and so forth, like 9 p.m. I'm like, was that today that I opened these? Wow. And now it's the other way. It's like open, shut.
Yep.
But it happens so fast, and 20 years your senior, driving at night is like has become, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, like it's
a different beast.
like daddy's trying to focus,
Yeah.
like, just because like
So much going on.
every
Yeah.
year you're on the planet, the more focused I think you are on safety.
Yep.
And like if you have to venture out at night, and it's like I want to get there and I want to get back, and
Like a
anyway.
few years ago, my friends would text me like 10 p.m. like, "Hey, what are you doing? Come out." "Yeah, sure, I'll meet you out." And now it's like
Yep.
6 p.m. like, "Hey, you should have texted me yesterday. I need like a day's notice."
I got my PJs on, man.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just bizarre. I mean, so point being, right here in the middle of this daylight change, making the trek down, much appreciated, as is the time. But let's get you out of here, and I look forward to having you serve me a cold one.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
Thank you.